The coffee in Camila's cup was still steaming when the glass door swung open without warning. Lucas Almeida walked in with that artificial confidence typical of someone who inherited the surname printed on the business card. "We need to talk," he said, not even waiting for her to finish saving the file with the proposal she had spent all night refining. 12 years of unwavering dedication to Almeida Enterprises were reduced to 15 minutes of a cold, procedural conversation. "We're restructuring. New directions. Your position has been reevaluated." Empty words meant to mask the obvious. The owner's son wanted to get rid of someone who knew the company better than he did. Camila packed up the photo of her nephew, her Employee of the Year award, and the small cactus that had survived 3 office moves. She walked out through the main lobby with her head held high, while surprise messages flooded her phone. No one understood. Neither did she. What no one knew, not even the arrogant Lucas with his imported MBA, was that hidden between the lines of the Alfarid contract lay a clause capable of turning that dismissal into the biggest strategic mistake in the company's history. And the clock was already ticking. 3 days later, Camila was still staring at the ceiling of her apartment when the phone rang. The trembling voice of Sophia, her former assistant, came through like a whisper. "We're in panic mode. The Alfarid contract is stuck, and Lucas is foaming at the mouth." Camila felt a mix of satisfaction and apprehension. That contract, her biggest project over the past 6 months, represented Almeida Enterprises' definitive entry into the international market. That same afternoon, an email from Alfarid's legal department appeared in her personal inbox. The formal and direct text confirmed what she already knew. Clause 27.4, included at the request of Sheikh Alfarid himself, required that the original negotiator remain the point of contact during the first 12 months of implementation. "Trust doesn't transfer with signatures," the Sheikh had said during a dinner in Dubai. Camila poured herself a glass of wine as she imagined the chaos unfolding at Almeida's offices. The Arabs were known for their inflexibility when it came to contractual matters. That $83 million deal, the largest in the company's history, was about to collapse. The phone rang again. Unknown number. She answered on instinct. "Camila? This is Roberto Almeida." The company's founder rarely called anyone directly. His voice, usually firm and composed, carried a tone she had never heard before, urgency. "My dear, we have a situation." The old businessman didn't even try to hide it. Lucas didn't understand the importance of that clause. "The Arabs are threatening to cancel everything." Camila stayed silent, letting the weight of that mistake hang in the conversation. "I need you to come back. Immediately." She looked out at the Sao Paulo skyline, thinking about how the glass towers of corporate buildings hid as many stories as hers. How many Camilas had been discarded by so many Lucases? "Mr. Almeida, I respect you deeply. But I can't just pretend nothing happened. Name your terms," he replied, with the frankness of someone who had built an empire knowing exactly when to yield. Camila smiled. It wasn't about money. It had never been about money. It was about respect, recognition, and, above all, autonomy. While Mr. Almeida waited anxiously on the other end of the line, she mentally organized her conditions. The game had changed, and now she was the one setting the rules. The first week passed with an apparent sense of normalcy. The video conference with Alfarid restored confidence in the project, and the timeline was back on track. Camila returned to her intense work routine, but with a new habit, documenting absolutely everything. Every email saved as a PDF, every meeting recorded with the participants' consent, every decision meticulously documented in meeting minutes. The first sign of sabotage appeared as a delay in the release of funds for the initial phase of the project. The finance department, led by Marcelo, a personal friend of Lucas, claimed budget inconsistencies that needed to be reviewed. "Funny how these inconsistencies didn't exist when the budget was approved 3 weeks ago," Camila remarked during a tense meeting with the finance team. The room fell silent until Sophia discreetly showed her phone to Camila. A photo of Lucas and Marcelo having lunch together an hour earlier. In the second week, an email, apparently sent from Camila, reached Al-Farid requesting changes to previously agreed clauses. When the Arab representative called to confirm, the trap was revealed. Someone had accessed her corporate email. "We need a full network security log," Camila demanded from the IT department. The technician, visibly uncomfortable, mumbled something about higher orders and administrative access. That same day, 3 of her top analysts were suddenly transferred to other departments without prior consultation. The message was clear. Lucas was systematically dismantling her resources. "He's trying to make you quit," Sophia commented as they worked late, reorganizing the reduced team. "Or make me make a mistake," Camila replied, not taking her eyes off the screen. The boldest blow came in the third week. During a critical presentation for the executive committee, the projected figures didn't match what Camila had prepared. Someone had altered the slides minutes before the meeting, inflating costs and minimizing projected revenues. Camila didn't show surprise. Instead, she distributed physical copies of the original report, stamped and signed by the Internal Control Department the previous evening. "It seems we had a technical issue with the presentation," she said calmly. "Fortunately, I always keep backup copies in physical format." Lucas's furious glare from across the table met her serene smile. For the first time, he realized he wasn't just facing an employee trying to protect her job. He was up against a strategist who anticipated his every move. That night, Camila sent an encrypted email to her personal address titled, "Evidence Almeida Case." The file contained every incident meticulously documented, with dates, times, and names. The silent war was recorded, and she was just waiting for the right moment to reveal her dossier. Roberto Almeida's call came at 6:30 in the morning. "Extraordinary board meeting. 8 a.m. attendance is mandatory." The founder's voice, normally composed, carried a tone Camila had never heard before, a mix of disappointment and restrained anger. When she arrived at the top-floor boardroom, she immediately realized something serious had happened. The 7 board members, men and women usually scattered across the globe, were all present. Roberto Almeida sat at the head of the table, with deep bags under his eyes and a grave expression. Lucas, seated to his right, maintained a confident smile that failed to mask the nervousness in his restless eyes. "I called this meeting because I received a serious complaint," Roberto began without preamble. "We've been informed that there was an attempt to modify the terms of the Al-Farid contract without proper authorization." Lucas cleared his throat, adjusting his tie. "That's exactly why I called for this audit. We discovered that someone attempted to alter the variable compensation percentages." He slid a folder toward his father. "Unfortunately, all evidence points to Miss Camila." A heavy silence filled the room. Camila scanned the faces around her, some confused, others already forming judgments. "Mr. Almeida, board members," Camila finally spoke, her firm voice resonating in the silent room. "I won't waste time denying absurd accusations. Instead, I request permission to present my own report." With Roberto's approval, she connected her laptop to the projection system. "Over the past 27 days, I have systematically documented a coordinated campaign of sabotage against the Al-Farid project and my management." What followed was a devastatingly precise presentation. Falsified emails, with technical headers revealing their true origins. System access logs showing intrusions into her corporate profile at times when she was provably in external meetings. Audio recordings of conversations with the finance department confessing to direct orders to delay fund releases. "And finally this," she said, projecting a screenshot from the security system. The image showed Lucas entering her office at 11:47 p.m. the previous night, when the building was practically empty. Interestingly, it was during this period that the falsified documents I'm being accused of creating were generated in the system. Lucas's face lost all color. His attempt to interrupt was silenced by a sharp gesture from his father. I have more evidence, but I believe these are sufficient to clarify the situation, Camila concluded. This isn't just a personal conflict. This is a deliberate attempt to sabotage a vital contract for this company. Roberto Almeida slowly stood up, the weight of his 70 years seeming to double on his shoulders. Lucas, wait for me in my private office. His voice, though low, carried an unyielding authority. Board members, I ask you to stay and deliberate on the appropriate disciplinary measures. As Lucas walked past Camila toward the door, he muttered through gritted teeth. You'll regret this. She merely smiled, calm. I've already sent copies of everything to my lawyers. Just in case. The door closed, and the true future of Almeida Enterprises began to be decided. The first week, as an executive, felt like a whirlwind for Camila. Meetings with the board, team restructuring, and finally, the decisive video conference with Sheikh Al-Farid, who not only maintained the original contract but also expressed interest in expanding the collaboration into new markets. I must admit, Miss Camila, the Sheikh remarked in his impeccable English, we have been closely observing how your company handled the internal situation. The way you managed the crisis speaks more about your values than any corporate presentation ever could. That observation stayed with Camila throughout the day. As she walked the halls, now as an executive director, she noticed different looks, some admiring, others uncertain, and a few tinged with veiled resentment. The transition from colleague to boss brought challenges no MBA could ever prepare her for. On Friday, when most executives had already left the building, Camila stayed in her new office, larger, and with a view of Parque Ibirapura. Sophia walked in with a bottle of champagne. To celebrate the victory, she explained, placing 2 glasses on the table. I don't know if it's a victory, Camila replied thoughtfully. It feels more like a beginning than an end. Sophia poured the sparkling drink. Don't be modest. You went up against the owner's son and came out not only with your job back, but with a seat on the board. You're practically a corporate legend now. Camila smiled, watching the city gradually light up as the sun set. Do you know what I realized during all of this? It was never about me versus Lucas. It was about values, about the kind of company we want to build. The phone interrupted their conversation. It was Roberto Almeida, requesting a moment of her time on Sunday at his countryside home. An informal talk about the future, he said. After hanging up, Camila realized her role had fundamentally changed. She was no longer just an executive protecting her career. She was now in a position to shape the organizational culture that would affect hundreds of families. The responsibility was immense, and surprisingly, she felt ready to take it on. What's the first thing you plan to do? Sophia asked curiously. Camila opened a folder on her laptop, a document she had started writing during the most difficult days of the conflict with Lucas. Its title read, Transformation Project, Restoring Values and Building the Future. I'm going to start by eliminating the chances of this happening again, she explained. An independent ombudsman system, clear anti-nepotism policies, and transparent performance metrics at all levels. Her eyes shone with renewed determination. The Camila who had joined the company 12 years ago, ambitious, competent, but still trying to prove her worth, had transformed. The executive emerging from that crisis no longer sought approval. Now she set the standard. Do you know what's the most ironic part? Camila reflected, raising her glass. Lucas wanted to destroy me, but he ended up transforming me into something I never imagined I could become. Sophia smiled, clinking her glass with Camila's. To transformation, then. No, Camila corrected her. To purpose. Because that's what I discovered on this journey, my true purpose. The Sao Paulo autumn brought winds of change to Almeida Enterprises. 3 months after her promotion, Camila had already implemented structural transformations that reverberated throughout the organization. The Human Resources Department, once merely a payroll processor, was elevated to a strategic position under the new title of Talent Management and Organizational Culture. The first concrete measure was the creation of the Ethics and Compliance Committee, composed of 5 members with alternating terms, and the authority to investigate any hierarchical level of the company. Roberto Almeida himself publicly signed a commitment to abide by the new rules. Some people think we're overdoing it, Camila remarked during a meeting with department leaders. I say we're just getting started. The second major project was a complete overhaul of the evaluation and promotion system. The new model, based on objective and transparent criteria, required every promotion to be justified with concrete performance data and 360-degree evaluations. Relatives of directors and shareholders would undergo additional scrutiny by an independent committee. We're not eliminating the possibility of family members working here, Camila explained in workshops held across regional offices. We're ensuring they earn their place through merit, not through their last name. On a sunny Wednesday morning, Camila led her first global strategic planning meeting when she noticed a familiar face among the regional managers, Pedro, Lucas's former right-hand man, watching her with a mix of respect and apprehension. At the end of the meeting, he hesitantly approached her. Should I hand in my resignation? He asked directly, surprising her. Camila gestured for him to take a seat. Why would you do that? I was loyal to Lucas. Everyone knows it. She studied him for a moment. Pedro, I'm rebuilding this company based on competence and integrity, not personal loyalties. Are you good at what you do? I think I am. Are you willing to work under these new values, with total transparency? He nodded, still cautious. Then I have no reason to want you gone, Camila concluded. In fact, I have the perfect project for you to lead. The project in question was the creation of a reverse mentorship program, where young talents would advise senior executives on new technologies and trends. A subtle way to challenge rigid hierarchies and value diverse perspectives. On the last Friday of the quarter, Roberto Almeida invited Camila for coffee in his office. On the table, the newly published report showed a 23% increase in stock value since the implementation of the new policies. Investors are calling it the Camila effect, he commented with a discreet smile. The strengthened governance has brought confidence to the market. Camila looked out at the Sao Paulo skyline, the same view she had contemplated when she was on the verge of being fired. The city hadn't changed, but her perspective had. Do you know what makes me the proudest? She said, turning to Roberto. This week, I received 11 emails through the new anonymous reporting channel. People who used to be afraid now feel safe pointing out problems. Roberto nodded, understanding. You didn't just save a contract, Camila. You're saving this company's legacy. As she left the office that afternoon, Camila paused briefly in the department where her career had begun. New faces, same desks. She smiled, thinking that for those young analysts, perhaps the path would no longer be as steep or unfair as it had been for her. 6 months had passed since the corporate storm that transformed Camila from a dismissed manager to an executive director. The office terrace, rarely used before her tenure, now housed a small urban garden where employees could find a moment of peace amid Sao Paulo's hectic routine. It was there that Camila decided to give her first interview since her promotion, for a prestigious business magazine. Your story has all the elements of a classic corporate drama, the journalist remarked while adjusting the recorder. The competent professional, unjustly treated, who returns triumphant. Do you feel vindicated? Camila gazed at the city skyline before responding. The question revealed exactly the kind of mindset she was working to change. "It was never about revenge," she finally replied. "If I just wanted to make a point, I would have sued the company, received a substantial settlement, and moved on with my life elsewhere. What brought me back was something deeper. The conviction that companies can be spaces for fulfillment and growth, not battlegrounds for inflated egos." The journalist took notes, visibly intrigued by her perspective. "Resilience isn't about silently enduring abuse," Camila continued. "It's about holding on to your values even when they're tested to the limit. It's about using difficult experiences as catalysts for positive change." When the interview ended, Sophia appeared with a folder of documents for Camila to sign. The final partnership contract with an NGO that would implement diversity and inclusion programs in the company. "The magazine wants a photo of you for the cover," Sophia informed her as Camila reviewed the documents. "They suggested something in the executive boardroom, with that imposing view." Camila smiled, shaking her head. "Tell them I'd rather be photographed with the Alpharid project team. That contract wasn't just my accomplishment, it was the collective effort of people who stayed true to their values even under pressure." That afternoon, as she left the building, Camila ran into Roberto Almeida in the parking lot. The founder seemed lighter in recent months, as if the company's restructuring had removed an invisible weight from his shoulders. "My son called me yesterday," he commented as they walked together. "He's in therapy. He said he wants to meet with me to talk, well, about everything." Camila nodded empathetically. "I hope he finds his path. Do you know what's the most ironic thing?" Roberto reflected. "I had to temporarily lose a son to gain a successor I truly trust." Before getting into her car, Camila paused for a moment, contemplating the building where she had faced her greatest professional challenge and experienced her deepest personal transformation. "The real victory," she thought, "isn't in the position I hold today, but in the certainty that even if I lost it tomorrow, my integrity would remain intact." The sun set over Sao Paulo, casting a golden glow over the windows of Almeida Enterprises. A new day would come, with its own challenges and opportunities. And Camila was ready, not just to face them, but to transform them into bridges toward a more just and human corporate environment. The office buzz quieted down as the elevator doors opened. Camila walked down the main corridor of Almeida Enterprises, with the same confident posture she had when she left 3 weeks prior. The difference was in the gazes that followed her, a mix of admiration, curiosity, and, on some faces, pure relief. Sophia ran toward her to give her a hug, completely ignoring corporate protocol. "You really came back," she whispered, as if afraid someone might hear and break the spell. Before Camila could respond, Roberto Almeida appeared from the executive hallway. "Welcome back," he said, extending his hand in a formal gesture that contrasted with the desperate urgency of his last phone call. "Let's go to my office to settle the details." The reintegration contract awaiting her on the mahogany desk was no standard HR document. It had been drafted by Roberto himself, with terms dictated by Camila, full autonomy in managing the Alpharid contract, an independent budget, direct reporting to the founder, and, the condition that would surely cause the most discomfort, the stipulation that Lucas could not interfere in any decisions related to the project. "I signed everything as requested," Roberto confirmed, sliding the document toward her. "Sheikh Alpharid is pleased to hear you've taken back the reins. The video conference is scheduled for tomorrow." Camila signed her copy, feeling the weight of the moment. This wasn't merely a return. It was a reconstruction under new terms. "Where's Lucas?" she finally asked. "In a meeting downtown. He doesn't know you're back yet." The tired eyes of Mr. Almeida revealed the internal conflict between the pragmatic businessman and the protective father. Camila settled into her old office, now adorned with a new nameplate on the door. Director of Strategic Projects. She had barely begun organizing her belongings when a message arrived on her phone. It was from Sophia, letting her know that Lucas had just entered the building and, according to his secretary, was furious. The heavy footsteps in the hallway announced his arrival even before he appeared at the door, his face red with barely contained rage. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, holding a crumpled piece of paper, likely the memo about her reinstatement. "It means your father understands business," Camilla replied without standing. "And that Alfaret is worth more than your pride." Lucas narrowed his eyes, a vein pulsing in his temple. "This isn't over. You won't last a month." As he stormed out, slamming the door behind him, Camilla allowed herself a brief smile. The game was truly beginning now, but this time, she knew all the rules.